your head. Okay, if I'm going completely over your head, do pause me and let me know. Very often, as a speaker, we get so excited listening to our own voices that we fail to recognize that others too should enjoy listening to us. So that's one of the fundamental things a public speaker ought to know. Okay, so on that note, I'll start this session. Primarily, we are going to talk about, primarily we are going to talk about communications in all its forms. Now, communication, the term is actually, it signifies an ocean. It's a term that is very often used, more often than not misused, and most often abused. So we need to figure out what precisely it is. Everyone will come and tell you about the importance of it. Everyone will keep reminding you how we have become not so effective communicators, as if it is something that has happened overnight. Yes, there is a fact, as far as your generation goes, that there is a generational shift in priorities necessitated by technological changes. A lot of things of what we were, what we are, is directed by what we had in our hands as far as technology went. And whatever you are is dictated largely by the technological advances that have come into your life, whether you wanted it or not. So you became slaves to a technology driven world that changed. There was a dramatic shift in whatever we did. Right? There was a change, a paradigm shift from one generation to another. But since I have been part of three generations, I have seen how it has evolved and how it has changed for the better or for worse. That remains to be seen. I belong to the original radio generation. I'm talking about a generation that looked at life very, very differently. Our wants were very limited because there was nothing on the horizon. I don't know whether you're able to grasp what I'm trying to tell you. You as kids, what you were exposed to, and I as a kid, what I was exposed to, it's simply not comparable. I had a very simple ambition in life, defined by whatever I saw around me. Today's kids, even even before the age of 5, you're throwing the mobile phone around, which is no more a mobile phone. It is a device that encompasses every aspect of life. Though euphemistically it's called a mobile phone, it hardly is a phone now. It's more of a word processor. It's more of a media device. It's a music player at one moment. It is your television at one moment. It's a computer at one moment. Probably least you do with that is making a call, right? And one of the things I have seen particularly in the last 6 or 7 years since WhatsApp took over, I realized how bad you people have, or rather we people have become at calling. You don't want to call now, you see. Before WhatsApp came, right, okay, you were making do with the SMS, all right. You were doing the short messages, and I've seen the wizardry with which you do it. I've seen children moving the fingers over the keys, and I've sat marveling at it. Oh my God, how fast your fingers move. Whereas I move with such difficulty, whereas you do it with amazing dexterity. And you're so ambidextrous when it comes to keys. I feel like a complete novice, a greenhorn, Sometimes I feel almost I'm useless when I sit in front of these kids. Very often I've seen my child taking away, snatching the phone from me. Give it to me. I'll do it for you. You know that sense of irritation, annoyance with which you snatch something from your dad because he's too much of a slow coach. Right? Yes. Sweethearts, we are slow coaches. Why? We were conditioned to be slow coaches. Life moved at a much, much slower pace. Life moved at a snail's pace for us, and we were very content with it. We didn't have to run fast. We could actually go and stand in a bus stop, wait leisurely for the bus to come, right? And when it came, gingerly get it. One of the things that Bangalore would used to teach everyone. I still remember coming from Bombay, right? And waiting for a bus in Bangalore. I used to get exasperated at the sheer lethargy of the people over here. Bangalore was your absolute pensioner's paradise, where everyone seemed to be asleep. Nothing will open before 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. By 1 o'clock, everything will be shut down. Why? Because the afternoon nap was so important. The Bangalorean had to have his afternoon nap. So afternoon, the city will wear a completely soporific look. Why? Everyone is in deep slumber. And very gingerly late in the evening, they'll slowly hobble out of their homes to come and open their business establishments. This would be around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Almost unwillingly, they will open, and you can see an air of diffidence. There's a lazy elegance about life over here. And even the people who walked into the shop walked in almost like zombies, half asleep. Right? And whatever was done in such slow pace, it was almost as if life would come to a grinding halt. And by 7:30, you can see the shopkeepers will be looking at their clocks, at their wristwatches. Why? Is it time to bring the shutters down? Why? Because 9 o'clock is their drink time. Right? People will be reminded of that bottle of scotch sitting on the table at home. Right? Or, of course, people at the lower end of the spectrum will have their own poison sitting on the table at home. And very happily they will be making their way back. By 8 o'clock, the shutters are down. Bangalore has gone to sleep, sweethearts. This is the generation we go. So where was the necessity to be fast? So everything was going in slow motion. But that's not the case now today, is it? Nobody came and told us, oh, you don't know the importance of communication. I've never heard of anything called soft skills classes. Nobody taught me soft skills. Nobody told me you have to be a communicator. When I was in college, nobody came and told me there is something called an interview. Though, of course, we knew that there is something called an interview. We hadn't the faintest clue how to handle one. I used to be under the impression I just have to be smart. I have to be a smart aleck, not smart. I ended up being an upsmart. Right? You end up in doing the talking not the way you ought to do. And you know how the interviewers of my time were. Their only joy was putting you down. They had a vicarious thrill in making you miserable, right? A sadistic streak that was part of their mental makeup. It would literally course through their veins. They won't even offer you a seat when you come and sit for an interview. They'll call you, you're called for an interview, and the fellows did not have the courtesy to even offer you a seat. They thought they were such big bosses and you were nothing but a slave in comparison. And they would go out of their way to show that they knew more than you, and they would try to trample upon you as much as they possibly can. The first interview I attended, I was not offered a seat. When I was not offered a seat, I waited for almost a minute and still I was not offered a seat. I pulled a chair and sat down, much to the chagrin, much to the consternation of the person sitting opposite me. I could see a streak of anger streaking across his face. I could see his eyes flare up. It was almost like telling me, "How dare you?" Well, that was the mentality. Right? Today, it's a different ball game altogether. I have trained more than 1,000 people in how to interview. And the first thing I teach them is how to make a candidate comfortable. It is your peremptory duty to ensure that you create a cocoon of comfort for the person sitting opposite you when you interview. That is the only way to find out if the person is the right person for you. That's the only way to engender confidence in that person. That's the only way to get the best out of that person. How wonderful. I wish somebody had taught my interviewers all this during those days. No. So we had to come through that grind. In the process, we became much, much better people. Today, who are your favorite people? Immediately you will say, my dad, my mom. Catch me saying that, no chance. Why? We used to get thrashed at the drop of a hat. I remember when we used to be put in school, my generation itself had to suffer this. When our parents put us into school, they will personally tell the teacher, break the fellow's bones. This is the advice given by the parent to the teacher, right? Break the fellow's bones. And the teachers took it literally, lock, stock, and barrel, with great joy, with great alacrity, and they went ahead and thrashed the daylights out of us at home. Very often, a child of our times, if you gone and asked, they would tell you their lamentations. They'll tell you, oh my God, what kind of life this is. When I come back home, my parents thrash me. I go to school, my teachers thrash me. Please tell me, pray tell me, where should I go? See how lucky you are, right? You're lucky because we came through that grind, we got polished, and we decided all the things that were denied to us. What was denied to us? Human rights, sweethearts. Not ordinary things. Today we talk about human rights, fundamental rights, and all kinds of things. We say what the Constitution has guaranteed to us, all that. Nobody gave us that. Constitution was there even then. How come nobody talked about my human rights when I was getting thrashed? Today you have it. Why? Today, when your dad and mom, when they put you to school, what did they tell the teacher? They said, don't you touch my child, I'll kill you. Right? You were mollycoddled. You were corseted by your parents. That is how you have been brought up. This is a fundamental shift in the mentality of people. In the process, see, we learned the rough and tough and the tumble of life. We fell down, got up, somersaulted, bruised our knees, sometimes cracked our jaws, right? All kinds of things. And we learned the niceties and the roughness of life. That's not the case with you. You all have only seen the sweetness of life, the sweet nectar of life you have been drinking. So you have seen all that is beautiful, all that is bright and beautiful, all that is wise and wonderful. You have been exposed to, unlike us. In the process, what has happened is you haven't learned the lessons of life. That is why soft skills comes into the picture. You are so cocooned in the comfort zone. You were cradled in mommy's arms so much. And dad carried you even when you were past middle school. Even when you were going through your paces in college, you would still return home and jump onto dad's lap. I'm sure you're doing it even today. I'm seeing that with my daughter. She's all of 24, and at the drop of a hat, she'll be on my lap. Right? That's how life has been. So what have we done? We have blocked the harshness of the rays of the sun from falling on you. We have stopped the harshness of the winter cold to even come anywhere near you. On a beautiful winter morning, we'll allow you the gentle golden rays of the morning sun to gently fall on you. Why? My child. See? So you must have everything that is soft, beautiful, mellow, sweet. This is how we look at life. That is not what we have. We were brought to the rough and tumble. Right? Every father, every mother thinks, oh my God, my child is my life. That's how life is. In the process, what ought to be learned haven't been learned. That is why the importance of soft skills come into the picture. Right? That is why you need to be trained because you don't know what lies on the other side. When you come to school for the first time, typical of every child, mommy has said, you are my world, you're my everything, you're my darling, you're my sunshine, you're that, you're this. And she has told you all kinds of things completely untrue. She has told you you're the greatest gift of life. Right? Are you? I'm sure you say yes. But when you step out, you remember when you come to school, there are 100 people, let's say 50 people in the class. There are 50 kings and queens attending class on the first day. All of them are kings and queens in their respective homes. All of them are kings and queens for their parents. But you assemble in one class. So imagine having 50 kings and queens attending one class. You can imagine the tussle for supremacy. That is where competition begins. That's where the roughness of life begins. That's why you realize, oh, life is not what my dad and mom told me. That's why you want to get back home as soon as you can. Why? The warm cocoons. The good. That is why you need all this. I was telling you, I come from the original radio generation. I have seen how life has shifted lanes. In our house, I was living in a rural area, in rural Tamil Nadu, I was living. And our house was next to a highway. My father was an IAS officer. So we had our quarters at those days, initial stages of his career, he would be posted to rural areas. When I was born, we were in a rural area. And the only school like available to me were the government schools in the vernacular medium. So I didn't have the comfort of an English medium education at that point of time. So the only choice for my parents was either they put me to the nearest government school. There were no private schools there. And the government school was naturally the local medium, not English. The other option for my parents would be to send me away to a boarding school. Naturally, my mom wouldn't allow her little boy to be sent away to a boarding school. I remember as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old standing near the gate. I'll be watching. What every 1 hour, a bus would pass by. That was my only moment of excitement. I'll be standing, waiting at the gate, and I'll hear the distant rumble of the bus. And I'll be excited, standing and waiting for the bus to pass by. And as the bus passed, I'd be jumping with joy. Some of the passengers would wave to me, I would wave back, and then bus would go past. And who do you think my idol was? My hero. My hero was the bus driver. My first ambition as a child in life was to be a bus driver. I thought that was the coolest job in the world. After all, he decided where you can get in, where you can get off. He decided your destination. Sometimes he decided your destiny also. Right? So that was my first feeling. Oh my God, I'm going to be a bus driver. If that weren't possible, my alternate ambition was I wanted to be a bus conductor. I was in love with that bunch of tickets in his hands. I didn't go and ask the conductor, can you give me one bunch, please? I thought it was so beautiful, that bunch of tickets, and the way he would tear it and give it to you. And what a wonderful job standing on the footboard with the breeze blowing on you, with a whistle between your lips. Imagine whistling your way through life. Oh, wow, beautiful. How wonderful life can be. These are the first awakenings of ambition in life, what I wanted to be. As you grow up, your horizons also grow. You start seeing things that are a little distant. Okay. I'm just, as I told you, I get carried away. I just go on speaking. So I even forget to look at there is something called a chat box. I have not even looked at it. Okay. Nobody has put anything in it, I guess. Is there, have I muted all of you? I mean, unmuted all of you? Can
I guess we
somebody?
can unmute ourselves. That
You
option.
can, right? Okay. So you can stop me, and if there's anything that you want to know from me, anything you want me to elaborate upon, anything you want me to explain further, or anything you want to tell me, in case you want to tell me to shut up as far as something I'm talking about, even that also you're welcome to. Okay. So shall I continue? Okay, sweetheart, I'll continue. I'm still not comfortable with this medium, this technology. Okay, because I'm so used to having an audience in front of me. Oh my God, I miss that so much in life. When I have always, 50 to 100 people at least in front of me, more the merrier. Right? I come alive on stage when I have an audience in front of me. The more the merrier. You give me 1,000+ audience, then nothing will stop me. I'll completely lose myself. Okay, anyway, let me get back to what I was doing. So as you grow up, your interests grow, your knowledge levels grow. You come across so many things. I remember, in our house at that time, one of the major things at home would be a radio. You go and ask your parents, probably they'll tell you. There would be a radio stand, that will be almost as tall as you, and on top there will be a radio that would occupy the centerpiece in a drawing room, and we would be listening to music. One of the reasons why we are all music mad is because we come from the radio generation. And one of the things I had at that time, and we were very ordinary, we were not that well to do. My father was a government official, IAS and all right, but if it, money wise, there was only his salary to live on, nothing else. So one of the things I saw, a friend of mine invited me to his house to show me something. I went to his house. He had what was called a radiogram. I've never seen anything like this. It was as big as your teapot. You know what a teapot is at home? Imagine you have two teapots, one on top of the other. That big, that was called a radiogram. It'll have a radio and a record player with a big speaker. That was the ultimate item of luxury. Only rich people could afford to own all that. I couldn't afford. He not only it also, and then he also had a tape recorder. I've never seen anything like that. You know how big the tape recorder was? The tape recorder was almost at the size of your television these days, right? Big. These spools. Have you seen it? You might have seen in old movies. Has anyone of you seen a tape recorder with this big tape? Have you? Anyone? In movies, in old movies, you might have seen. That was the first time I saw a tape recorder. Grundig was the brand name, German. And then he recorded my voice and played it back for me. Don't worry, I'll just put this in silent mode. I forgot. Okay. He recorded my voice and played it back for me. I was stunned out of my wits listening to my own voice. I couldn't believe that this could even be possible. I come from that generation, so you can imagine. You must be thinking this fellow must be some prehistoric creature, Jurassic Park variety, right? Not that bad actually. I'm talking about the 60s. Okay, I'm sure now most of you were born. How many of any of you who's no? If you are born in 90, then you are what? 31. No, you all of you are the millennial generation. All of you are born after 2000, I guess.
98, sir.
98. Yeah, just on the cusp. It's okay. You're almost there. Here is the fellow talking about prehistoric times. I know. I remember I was talking about something, and one girl told me in the class, "Sir, I was not born there." What do you mean you were not born there? How does that matter? Then I asked her, when was the first battle of Panipat fought? She didn't know. Then I told her, 1526. I was not born there. Right? So what's the big deal? That's how life is, isn't it? Anyway, that was the first time I came across the tape recorder. Now look at that tape recorder. I was just now talking about it. Why I'm putting this across is it is a reminder of how life has progressed. I talked to you about a tape, about a radio, about a record player. I talked to you about a tape recorder. The record player also became smaller. The records became smaller. Okay. And I remember at a particular, and then in sometime in the 70s, something called stereophonic sound came. We went over the moon. When you had two tracks, today you have multiple tracks. Two tracks, one kind of music in one ear, another stream of music in the other ear, crossover sound, and we were going mad about with the technology. Right. The first time I remember there's a film called Javani Diwani. I hope I can play it for you somewhere during the course of the session. There's a song called I don't know how many of you are familiar with Hindi songs. I am familiar with all kinds of music. I'm a music crazy fellow. I every day I'll sit not with this. I don't like this piece in my ears. It irritates me. I have those, the big speakers. I have, believe it or not, I have the old gramophone to record me. You actually gently place the record, take that cartridge and gently place the cartridge on the rotating record. And then I will rush back to my chair before the song starts and close my eyes and I'll be in a different world. When Kishore Kumar sings Jane Jan Dundata, I'll just keep on thinking that's over. I'm lost to the world. Right? So this is how things have changed. Now, I talked to you about a record player. At that particular point of time, I remember we were, his master's was HMV. They had a record player costing, this is non-stereo mono, and it cost 186 rupees. It would come without a speaker, a record player without a speaker. That record player, you have to plug it into your radio. You won't be aware of all this. In the radio, there was one band, band one, band two, band three, and finally there would be a band called PU. PU meaning pickup. You switch on to that band, it picks up, it acts as an amplifier. So what you feed from the record player plays on the speaker of the radio, and you can adjust the volume with the radio's volume. Now, I pleaded my dad for 186 rupees, and my dad told me, sorry, can't afford. That was the days I come from. Right. And then, of course, the tape recorder, that big, grunting tape recorder with those spools. We see a film called Anand, you go and see a Rajesh Khanna film. You will see that over there, especially the last climax sequence. Okay. And how that progressed. In the early 70s, suddenly we had something called a cassette recorder. That two big spools got reduced to this small size inside a rectangular cover, which was called a cassette. Right? And we wondered, oh my God, from where music is going. And somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s, Sony brought out something called a Walkman. You have the tape recorder in your pocket with a headphone, and you can walk anywhere you want. He said, oh my goodness, what's happening? Right? And then when I remember somewhere reading, that from now on it's going to be a small disc which the sound will be picked up by a laser beam. They said, laser? What laser? Of course, then we learned the expansion of light amplification spectrum extended. So this is the laser, right? We didn't know all this. And now that turned out to be a CD compact disc. I have gone through all this. Now you don't even need a CD. Everything is on the internet. Whoever thought of internet? I used to sit and write a letter. Have you ever written a letter in your life? Are you capable of writing a leave letter? I have put this across to my corporate trade. I've trained corporate, middle management in corporate, TCS for instance. Okay, writing skills. They not one of them could write a decent leave letter, full of grammatical errors. Right? I had to teach them how to write a leave letter. Writing a leave letter itself is so difficult. Imagine what will happen if I asked them to write a love letter. It would be disaster. I used to be the master love letter writer. When I was in hostel in engineering. I'm an engineer by the way, right? Mechanical engineer. And in my there'll be a queue outside my room for love letters. I write the same thing, only the words will be different. Basic expressions will be the same thing. But of course, the whoever received the love letter knew who wrote it. Because they knew the person who was giving that letter was incapable of writing that. It's as simple as that. I'll share something with you. Okay. Now that since I mentioned it, I'll share this with you. I was in PUC. My I was never really interested in engineering. Was just something you do because you have to do something in life. That was not something I did with passion. My passion was always English literature and all that. In school, I used to love Alfred Tennyson. Are you familiar with Alfred Tennyson? Tennnyson. I'm sure you know who Alfred Tennyson is. Also called Lord Tennyson. Anyone? Any guesses who is it? No? He was a poet. How many of you remember this poem? You've studied poems in school? Yes or no? All of you did. You don't have an escape there. Why? They made you memorize it. And you know how you hated memorizing it. They made you memorize even the punctuation marks. You remember? Even now, I wonder why the hell did they do that? Why do you need to remember those commas and semicolons and colons? I'll never understand. This is how they destroyed the beauty of schooling. Right? Anyway, we had to go through this. No escape. But do you remember this one? For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Now see everyone saying yes, yes, yes. That is written by Alfred Tennyson. The name of the poem is The Brook. Right? And I enjoyed reading. We had one English teacher. His name was Mr. Watson. I studied Moody. I'll come to that later. He was from Kent in England. One tall, curly-haired man. He was pink in color. He'd wear a suit. One brown, chocolate-colored rimmed glasses, brown glasses. And he had this husky voice, very sweet chap. Old man, right? I think he must have been in his late 50s, early 60s, perhaps. He would walk up and down, right? Slowly, gingerly, he'll be walking up and down the class with that book in hand, and he'll be resonating. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. And oh my God, our hearts would go like the brook. The name of the poem is The Brook. Just as the brook was flowing, our hearts would flow along with it. I was so fascinated when we came to, and that became a part of my system. You might remember you were in charge of the light brigade and all that. Into the Valley of Death, wrote the 600, if you remember. That's also by Tennessee. It was the charge of the light brigade. No one to the left of them, no one to the right of them, into the Valley of Death, rode the 600. Yes, 600 people on a horseback. You almost feel as if you're sitting on that horseback and right. Much later when we were doing PUC. In PUC also you have English. I don't know why they have English in PUC. That's the first thing they should remove, because invariably you'll have one person in PUC who will teach you English and he won't know English. And they'll make such a mess of it. And if you come from English medium, good English medium instruction, you'll find that impossible to sit through. I'm sitting in the PUC class, and one of the poems that we're having is the proof. That was the ultimate insult to Lord Tennyson. This man is explaining the proof for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. I had tears in my eyes. Why are you doing this to this poem? Please. Right? For me, it was something magical, and this man was reducing it to something so mundane. I just could not accept it. So I just closed my eyes, closed my ears, took a paper and a pen, and I started writing in the same style as Tennyson, the same flow. The men may come and men may go, but I go on forever was literally the tune going on in my heart, and I wrote this. Listen carefully, this is what I wrote, and I remember it even today because it is musical. Anything musical, we will remember. And this is what I wrote. Oh, little lovely lady, won't you flash a smile? I go down on my knees to ask, oh, only once for a while. My heart goes topsy-turvy every time I see you with that sizzling smile stinging me like a bee. Oh, my charming, chirpy queen, killing beauty is thine. Won't you give me a second look? That would be a feast divine. I sit and stand here and there thinking of you alone. I sleep and dream and talk of you. Won't you be my own? This is what I wrote in my piece. Right. And actually, I was a radio jockey for some time. And when I went on air with this particular poem of mine, I had some 2,000 emails to everyone wanted a copy of it. I don't know what they would want to do with that copy, but that's the kind of response I had. Now, that reminds me. The why there are a lot of things I say here because these are all things anybody can do. I'm just giving an example here. Here's a mechanical engineer who's talking everything other than mechanical engineering. This thing is very simple. You can be whatever you want to be in life. This is what passion is all about. Don't get constrained by what you have taken up. Right. See, you have taken up event management. Now, this is the kind of field that gives you the liberty to do whatever you want. Unlike being straight-jacketed into medicine or engineering or chartered accountancy or the legal profession, yours is not like you're talking about event management. Right? You yourself can be the event. Right? If there's a poetry recital, you write the poem and you are reciting, that's an event. So you can do whatever you want. You can make it musical, whatever. So it's a question of passion. And I try to provoke people into writing. Because I have more than around 4 to 5,000 people who are friends on my Facebook page, and I write a lot on my Facebook page because I get a lot of my students end up seeing it, and they keep asking me, so keep writing. We love to read what you write. So that's how it's been going on. Okay, anyway, I'll share some of them as the session ripens a bit. The reason why we remember anything that's musical is, let's take an example. When we put words into a rhyming pattern, there is an element of joy associated with it for whatever reason. It's like children, respond to it so easily. You, as a child, responded to it. You remember. Okay, let me give you one simple example. You remember that nursery rhyme? Humpty Dumpty sat on a fence. You remember Humpty Dumpty sat on a fence?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Am I right? Was it
Yes.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a fence?
It was sat on a
No,
wall.
See, that's what I was waiting for. The moment I said Humpty Dumpty sat on a fence, but you corrected me and said, no, it's not fence, it is wall. When did you last read this nursery rhyme, sweethearts? When you were in nursery, right? But now, how old are you? You are on the cusp of 20. And even now, after almost 1.5 decades, you still remember its wall and not fence. And why you remember its wall and not fence? What's the second line? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall,
Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
had a great fall. That wall and fall had to rhyme. If it did not rhyme, you wouldn't remember. That is why we try to write it. Right? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty together again. See, this is what rhyme scheme does. It makes it musical. I am trying to rekindle that child in you. Things that you thought are no more a part of your life, I am bringing it back to the center table. I am once again awakening that LKG boy and girl inside you. Why? Because you were so beautiful, you were so cute, you were so innocent, you were such a lovely baby when you were in LKG. I want that to continue. I want to see it. I see there is a certain innocence I see on your faces. There is a certain babyishness I see on your faces. I can see all of you are having a smile on your faces without an exception. Right? Why should it fade, sweethearts? It should remain the same way. You should continue to be that little girl, little boy. You should continue to be that child, right? Who got fascinated with the smallest of things in life. Very small, little things that were so important for a child. Let it be the same way even today. I remember I was invited by the Chartered Accountants Institute to compare a program. This was on a winter morning. This was the program was in what's that? Palace Grounds. Are you all in Bangalore? Okay, somebody is
No,
shaking.
sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
who is not in Bangalore? Where are you?
So me.
Okay, let me see your names. Okay, okay. Nandita, where are you?
Bangalore, sir.
Bangalore. Anjali, where are you?
Bangalore, sir.
Bangalore. Preeti?
Coimbatore.
Preeti is in Coimbatore. Okay. Uh, Rashmita?
Mysore, sir.
Mysore. Then Jhansi, Kutala Jhansi?
Anantapur, sir.
Anantapur. Okay, you're in Andhra. Okay. Who did I miss? Karthik, where are you?
So I'm from Belgaum.
Belgaum. Have I missed anybody? Yes, Sanjay. Yeah.
Koppa, sir.
Koppa. Okay. Priyanka?
Coimbatore, sir.
Coimbatore. Yamini?
From Andhra, Guntur.
Where Andhra?
Guntur, sir.
Guntur. Have I missed anybody? I think I've caught all of you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why I asked, I'm just suddenly trying to figure out why I asked you where are you all from. From where to where because there are 1,000 things in my head. So I don't know. Very often what happens is, doesn't regardless of how long my session is, at the end of the session, I'll be thinking of 101 things that I wanted to say and I didn't say. Okay. So there are, because I'm a man of multifarious interests. So even if I start talking about one interest, that will take me on an entire 3 to 6 hour session, I guess. Okay. Anyway, that we'll come back to what we are talking about. Okay. So we have people primarily from Bangalore, Koppa, Belgaum, Coimbatore, Anantapur, Guntur. Have I covered all the places?
Mysore, sir.
Mysore. Okay, yeah. How could I miss that? A beautiful place. I love Mysore city. It's one of my favorite places. The, the city of palaces. I used to go there quite. I used to go quite often to those, those two campuses, Infosys and L&T, opposite to one another. I have trained thousands of people there in those two. And they used to put me in different hotels in Mysore. One was Southern Star, if I remember right. And is the Das Prakash still there, Sweta?
Which one, sir?
Is the Dasa Prakash still there?
I am not that familiar.
Dasa Prakash, Hotel Das Prakash.
I'm
Not
not that.
familiar.
No.
Very much there, Vineet.
Very much there. Oh, fantastic, fabulous. Arvind, where are you?
Hiding. I'm in another meeting.
Okay. Now, because I haven't heard about Das Prakash in a long while, but I remember that having a masala dosa and a gulab jamun in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay. So, yeah, I got sidetracked. Let me get back to whatever I was talking about. And for the two of you, there were two from Coimbatore. Okay. I don't know which part of
Yes,
Coimbatore
sir.
you were. I remember there was 1.5 years we were. I was in Coimbatore long ago as a schoolboy, and I remember living in a place called Araspuram. And I remember where that place was. It was behind a theater called Kennedy Theater. I don't know whether it's there now, yeah, right? And that road was called 100 feet road or 80 feet road or something like that.
100.
Okay. And at the end of the road, there was one favorite hotel of ours called Annapurna. Anyway,
Yes, sir.
I'll see if I can come back to that at some other point of time. Yeah, I was talking about early winter morning, going to compare a program for the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Palace Grounds, Bangalore. Early morning. A winter early morning is probably the most beautiful thing about being in Bangalore. The winters in Bangalore are absolutely magical. Early mornings and late evenings are absolutely, in fact, the whole day. Winters are lovely in Bangalore. I'm a person who who revels in the chillness of the weather. I hate the heat. I just can't bear the heat. I can't bear even Bangalore's heat. Nowadays, Bangalore is becoming, the summers are becoming simply unbearable because you have this complete, concrete jungle that has replaced the greenery now. But still, at least during the winter, we get a sniff of the beauty of Bangalore that once was. One early morning, around 7 o'clock, the cab arrives and you get into the cab to go for this particular, to compare this program. And I just roll down the shutter, allow the breeze, the cool breeze to hit my face. And we go past Kabban Park on one side, Kantirava Stadium on the other side, the overhanging branches, the trees, and the lush green everywhere. Slight early morning mist you could see just hanging, a blanket of mist hanging over the city. And as you drive through it, it's almost fragrant, the breeze that blows into your face. And I could see the early morning rays of the sun, the first golden rays of the sun, desperately trying to pierce through the branches and land a gentle kiss on your cheek. Oh my God, it was divine, absolutely beautiful. I remember after going there, I explained I described this particular feeling of mine, what I experienced in the ride to the venue. And when I described something along similar lines, I described over there, and I had a standing applause, ovation. And I realized how much there is a need for creating this kind of a magic. People love it. Why? People have forgotten that it existed. We have all forgotten that it existed. The way of describing a place, bringing a poetic grace to whatever you're talking about. Even when prose can be infused with a certain poetry to make life beautiful. The idea is to make life itself a song. Right? There's no end to what you can do with life. So this is what is Beautiful. Now, I'll just go back to the kind of times I was totally progressing from one era to another. I was talking to you about technological advances. I came to, in music wise, came right up to the compact disc and the internet and all that, right? And how things have evolved. In the 60s, I hope you've heard of the Beatles. Okay, I see Sanjay is nodding his head. What about, let's see, how many of you, is there anyone here who has not heard of the Beatles? Yamini? Nandita? No. Okay. Anjali? I'm asking, have you heard of the Beatles? I unmuted you. You think so, at least? No, I'm not getting the option. All right. Okay, doesn't matter. Yeah, Rashmita, all of you. Okay,
I've heard of Beatles, sir.
great. Okay. I'll just spend a few minutes on that. And why should you know the Beatles? Why should I be talking about them? I see Karthik on the screen. Okay. See, there are things in life, and it's all the more important since you all are in event management. I would say this even in my other sessions. So it is that much more important when I'm talking about people who are in event management. We're talking about the Beatles. The arrival of Beatles itself was an event of such magnitude that you should know how music evolved. There was Elvis Presley earlier, and there were so many others. B.B. King, Louis Armstrong, and there's a lot of people we talk about. Jim Reeves and Neil Diamond and Cliff Richards. A lot of people there. In 1959, four 19-year-old boys, they get together and form a band called the Beatles. And life would never be the same again. Four 19-year-old boys. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. These four would get together and form a band called the Beatles. Initially, of course, they have these teething troubles, they have the struggle, everything. But by late 60, early 61, suddenly they begin to make a mark. Initially, they proved to be a success in Germany. They were not that big a success in England to begin with. These are all boys from Liverpool. Liverpool is a city in England. All right. So they cross the English Channel, they come to Germany and begin to make a mark in Germany. They sing and play cover versions of whatever their English songs are in German. And a particular song called I Wanna Hold Your Hand suddenly zooms up the charts. And they start getting the recognition in England. Suddenly there is a wave. The Beatle mania is in. You have an entire generation of Britishers taking up the Beatles and going crazy over it. And it crosses the seas, crosses all boundaries across the world. And I remember as a schoolboy, sitting in a small town called Trichy in Tamil Nadu, dancing to their groovy music. And it was a worldwide phenomenon. In 1964, they arrive in the US. And when they land in John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York, they have to be airlifted with a helicopter. Why? Because there were more than millions of people waiting outside. to catch a glimpse of them. So for their first performance in the Shia Stadium, they are airdropped. There is a helicopter that lands over there, and they start. That is the beginning of the Beatles in the universe. And then for the next almost a decade, you have the world awash with Beatles. I saw her standing there. I want to hold your hand. Get back. Ballad of John and Yoko. Please, please me. Paperback writer. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Then there are albums like Revolver, Rubber Soul. Right? Amazing. Now, why you should know is they were trendsetters. Life wasn't the same after that. Fashion wasn't the same. People would dress like that. That hair till here, those even that ankle length boots, they are called beetle boots even today, right? So what they were the youngsters of that time used to wear. That's the kind of impact it had. Now that engendered another kind of music altogether. So following in their footsteps, you had Creedence Clearwater Revival, Rolling Stones, The Queen, and they all followed in succession. But these were the pioneers, right? They refined what was called rock and roll. Then there was a person by name Chuck Berry who was at the top of it. They refined rock and roll and had a different dimension to it. Now, why you should know this? There are two things I've always been telling people in all my communications classes, regardless of whether I'm doing for kids of your age or I'm talking to middle-aged professionals. Basics remain the same. If you want to learn to be a communicative person, the rules are the same whether you're a 20-year-old or a 45-year-old. Nothing changes over there. The rules are the same. If you want to be a public speaker, I'm sure all of you want to be public speakers. Every one of us. There is a certain yearning inside every person. You want to go stand in front of, 200, 300 people with a microphone, and you want to have them engrossed. This is the dream of almost every young boy and girl. And something very, very difficult. The moment you go step on stage, your knees begin to shake. How many of you have had severe nervousness problem on stage? Just raise your hand. Let me see. Okay, I saw one lot. Yes, I see everyone raising their hands. Okay, now but that's how life is, isn't it? Nature has not designed us for public speaking. Nature has designed us for across the table conversation. Correct? Gossip, particularly. You agree with me? When you actually speak in front of an audience, standing on an elevated platform, you're overcoming the limitations imposed on you by nature. You're not meant for this. As a human being, you are not designed to give speeches. As a human being, you're designed to speak softly to one another. Suddenly, they put you on stage and put 100 people in front of you and they say, speak. What you'll speak? How difficult it is, right? Now, okay, let's put it this way. Would you want to exchange places with me? How many of you would want to exchange places? I can see Rashmita is vigorously shaking her head. Priyanka too, right? Yeah, Nandita, I can see Nandita also saying, no. What, Preeti? Exchange places with me? No. Again, vigorous shake of the head. Yes, Anjali, Kutala, Yamini. Anyone who wants to exchange places with me? Nandita? No? Sanjay? Don't. Having said that, I know you don't want to exchange places with me, but wouldn't you want to develop into a person who can sit in my place and do a better job than me? Yes or no?
Yes,
Don't
sir.
don't you want to beat me at my own game?
Yes,
Honestly,
sir.
honestly. Don't you
Yes, sir.
don't you feel like saying, hey Vineet, you're talking too much, man. One day you wait and see. I will beat you at your own game. Don't act too funny, okay? Yes or no? In your heart of hearts, tell me yes or no. No?
No, sir.
No. It is there, no? There is a benchmark all of us set for ourselves. Right? Okay. All of you want to be good public speakers, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. How good a public speaker you want to be? At least better than me, right? Yes or no? Yes
At
or
least
no?
better than what we are now.
That is a very modest statement, right? But given a chance, suppose if it is possible, let's set a benchmark now. If I want to be a batsman, you'll have Dhoni, Tendulkar, Kohli, all this. Okay, like that. So you want to be, we always look at something as a, we set a certain benchmark. When we are in class, is who comes first? We'll always say, I want to score higher than her or him. Why the person comes first? So in a place like this, where just between you and me, if there is one person you want to be better than, I suspect you want to be better than me. Yes or no?
Right, sir.
Honestly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Right. Now, to do that, there are two things I depend on, as you can see. This doesn't come overnight. Yes, there are, see, some of us accept it. There is something called a gift. A lot of people are gifted. But that doesn't mean that those who aren't equally gifted are useless. A good example I'd like to give you is, since I mentioned Tendulkar and Dhoni, I think that would make a good example in this particular instance. See, Tendulkar was born with that certain ability. Even the fastest of bowlers, when they bowl to Tendulkar, you almost feel as if the ball is coming slowly. Tendulkar seems to have so much more time to play than Dhoni. Why? God has given him that split second ball, which is called talent. Dhoni doesn't have that ability. Dhoni is nowhere near as gifted as Tendulkar. But having said that, is Dhoni as big a phenomenon as Tendulkar? Yes. Though his resources were limited, he made exceptional use of it. For Tendulkar, it was easy. For Dhoni, it was not easy. He had to slog it out to become what he became. For Tendulkar, it was relatively easy. It's like, have you seen football? Are you familiar with Lionel Messi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. When Messi plays, football is something ridiculously easy. Right? You can put 10 people in front of him and he seems to go. And now you will find that all the other 10 people over there, they kind of almost are embarrassed how he is able to do it. That is a God given ability. There are others also who do well in football with half the gift there. Ronaldo is an example. He is nowhere near as gifted as Messi is. For Messi, it's a God given gift. Right? So they are naturally the best in the field that they are in. But Ronaldo gives you hope that anybody can rise to that level. Right? Similarly, Tendulkar or Dhoni, it's like watching Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal or Djokovic. Each time, I don't know whether you will watch Wimbledon, French Open, US Open, and all that. Each time that Roger Federer sends that return of serve, we just say, ah, how beautiful life can be. That is naturally gifted. Right. So there will be these extremely gifted people. We'll keep them out of the picture. We'll talk about the people who are not so necessarily gifted. So you have to put in that effort. There are two things. Right. One, an inexhaustible fund of knowledge. Where does this come from? It's not an overnight thing. If you have an inexhaustible fund of knowledge, there's nothing that you can't talk about, right? And an inexhaustible supply of words. Imagine, vast fund of knowledge. And to describe that and put it across to an audience, an innumerable supply of words to dress those thoughts in. If you have these two together, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. But how do these two come? Every session of mine, during the break, the question will come. Sir, how can I be a better communicator? How can I elevate my language skills? How can I be a devastating public speaker? Same answer. And you can't become this overnight. It's a process of acquiring these abilities. Read, read, read. I always say I am the sum total of whatever I have read in my life. I am the sum total of whatever I have read in my life. But then I've done extraordinary amount of reading. I used to be a voracious reader. One of the reasons why my generation itself used to be the reading kind was because we had limited other accesses. Beyond the radio, there was nothing much. See, television came much, much later in my life. In 1977, I remember television came in South India in Madras. It was 1977. Till then, TV was something we used to see in exhibition. I remember as a schoolboy, I think I was in fourth standard, third standard or something. I was taken to an exhibition by my dad. So we had to buy a ticket to see what a TV is. We buy a ticket and it's a pitch dark room. We go and sit there, and on a small gap in the wall, there is one box. That's a television in black and white, that too. And one lady is doing the Bharatanatyam. And we are watching. I am not at all impressed by it. Oh, so this is TV, all right. One lady is doing Bharatanatyam. I have seen Bharatanatyam live. So what's the big deal here? Then to make it worse, they opened one screen behind. I see the same lady is doing the Bharatanatyam there. So actually they've kept a camera there and they're showing her on the TV. So they allowed us to know what is a television. That was my first encounter with television. In 1977, when we were in Madras, it was there in Delhi and Bombay 1 year earlier. And we had our first taste of black and white TV in houses. Right? Only black and white, only one channel. It was called the Doordarshan channel. And we would wait every Wednesday and Friday. There would be a song-based program called Chitrahar on Wednesday, and Chaya Geet in Bombay. I think in Tamil there was something called Voliyum Voliyum, if I remember right. Then for this we'll wait. That was on Friday night, 8 o'clock or something. And during that 8 o'clock to that 45 minutes of the program, the city will go to sleep literally. Nobody will be outside. Everybody will be inside watching the program. The TV stopped making people, stopped allowing people to be social. Then slowly, in 1982, Asian Games were held in India, and 1982 August, I think, they announced that the Asian Games inaugural will be in color. Suddenly, all hell broke loose. I still remember on the day before the Asian Games inaugural, color television was installed in my house, and next day afternoon, you won't be aware of all this. Can you see one block on your screen over there with the with colored bands right now? It's called Team.i something. You have it on your screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have it on my screen, so I'm asking you. Now take a good look at that colored bars. Okay. The day inaugural of the Asian Games, color television has been installed in my house. Normally, when we switch on the TV, black and white TV, there'll be some black and white bars on the screen first, and then the Doordarshan symbol will come with one quaint music. Okay, 1982 on the day of Asian Games inaugural, we are waiting. There are 200 people in my house waiting to see what a color television is. We switch on the TV, and then suddenly the black and white gauze, the bars are on the screen, and all of us are waiting. Exactly on the turn at 2 o'clock, when the clock struck 2, something magical happened. Guess what? The black and white bars became colored bars, like what you're seeing on the screen there. And 200 people roared with delight looking at colored bars. Everyone was shouting, "Wow, look at that!" What were they looking at? Those colored bars. That was live, sweethearts. You might find it difficult to believe. So that was the beginning of color telecast in India. That was 1982. Much later, other towns would get it. It was a process. But the good thing is, it made us all dependent on the newspaper and magazines. I would read every newspaper that I would get. I'd read every magazine. India Today, Sunday, Week, Outlook, Onlooker, Caravan, Imprint. You name there are 101, including film magazines and whatnot. All these magazines we would read. All the newspapers we would read. When you read so much, imagine the amount of knowledge that gets stocked here. Imagine the vocabulary that you develop. And I had one habit. I had a gift with words. And to add to it, whenever I came across a word that I did not know, while reading the newspaper, suddenly I'll see a word. I've never come across this word. I would feel insulted that I don't know the word. So what I do, I'd underline the word. After underlining it, I'll see whether the context has given me the meaning of the word. If the context has given me the meaning of the word, I'll check the dictionary to see whether my understanding of the word is right or wrong. Once I ascertain that it is right, I'll write a sentence using that word. And then, very importantly, I would use the word in my regular across the table conversation. And that word would straight away go and sit inside part of my vocabulary. See, it's pointless taking words from the dictionary, standalone words. There's no point having words stuck in the inner recesses of your memory. You should have words sitting here on the tip of your tongue, waiting to be delivered. Why? Because while speaking, you shouldn't be stuck for words. How often have you found yourself, you're describing something to somebody, and that one word which is so much a part of what would have described it, and you lose that word. And no matter what, you're not getting that word. You end up using something much simpler or different. And the whole idea of that particular statement is gone. Have you ever undergone that problem?
Yes, sir.
All of us undergo this problem. And the worst part of it, it happens sometimes when you're talking to an audience. I have seen n number of people suffer from this malady. They'll be saying something, you know, something really strong, something really trenchant. To put that point across with a burst of energy, like a sledgehammer, they'll want to hit it in, and then that word is gone. And they'll end up literally squeaking. It's like instead of a loud roar, they end up having a meow and gone. That moment, that most important moment is gone. And you will never be your normal self. You'll come back, sit, and what did I do? What have I done? You'll be wondering what a creature you become. This happens to all of us. We're not human beings after all. None of us are infallible, right? Our strengths and weaknesses go hand in hand. But if you don't want this to happen, something I do in my English elevation modules for senior management, I do this because this is where they suffer. Now you might wonder, English language elevation for what and for who? We are talking about people who are already in the higher tiers of the management hierarchy. Why will they want to be having an elevated language? After all, they're already there on top, established. Think is this with us. As you go higher and higher and higher in life, you realize something. You'll also be meeting people who are coming higher and higher and higher. And at the top tier, you'll be meeting identical people. Let's say you become a CEO of a company. You'll be ending up meeting other CEOs. Tomorrow, suddenly you're a CEO of a 250 crore worth company, then you'll be in that company. You'll be a CEO of a $1 billion company. Actually, the person sitting next to you will be either a Bill Gates or a Mark Zuckerberg. Right? Well, that is the law of life. Right? If you want to have a Satya Nadella beside you, Satya Nadella, by the way, my junior in college, or if you want to have Sundar Pichai beside you, right? If you want to sit beside them and hold your own, not become overawed. Look who I am sitting next to. No, you're sitting next to a person, you're same level, mind you, right? And you want to hold forth, you should be able to speak at that level. How to speak at that level? You need the combination I told you. An extraordinary fund of knowledge accompanied by an extraordinary vocabulary. Right? Inexhaustible fund of knowledge and an inexhaustible flow of words. These two put together, the world is your oyster. Right? I see that the time is what? Yeah, it's 3:30 is the time. I think we'll take a short break. How many of you had your lunch? Okay. How many of you have not had your lunch? Okay, Rashmita has not had. Preeti, Priyanka. Yeah, let me see this one. Yeah, all those who have not. Okay, Anjali has not had. Okay, so shall we take a 15 minutes break? Long enough to have a lunch and get back? Okay.
Yes.
Uh, in the meantime, if there's anything you want, by the way, I have not looked into. There is something called a chat box. I told you, I get carried away. I just talk. I'm a motor mouth, right? And I completely lose track. Sometimes I forget that there are people sitting in front. Sometimes I pity you. I feel sorry for you sometimes. Oh my God, look at these people. So sad that they have no choice but to listen to this fellow who is in love with himself. He's in love with his own voice. He doesn't care whether other people want to listen or not. Right? Anyway, you don't have a choice, darlings. What to do? The only thing you can do is have a decent lunch and get back. Okay, so shall we break? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
15 minutes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Whoever is recording can pause the recording here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I see 11 participants. At least everyone else back. Okay. Yeah. So all of you have whetted your appetite, quenched your thirst, satiated your hunger. So which means we have enough fuel to set the ball rolling. If you notice, I use three different words for three different expressions. For thirst, I used a word. For appetite, I used a word. And for hunger, I used a word. These are words you generally used alongside this particular expression. When you say quench, we never say quench your hunger. When you quench, it's always the thirst. It's the thirst that you quench. 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 Similarly, when it's your appetite, you always whet your appetite. Who can spell the word wet for me? No Googling.
Wenchd.
Huh? Repeat.
Wenchd.
No, did you say wench? I'm asked. Quench is over. That's so it's not wench. It is quench. Quench. I'm asking for whet your appetite. What's whet? Spelling.
VET.
Wet. VET. Who said VET?
I did, sir.
Oh, Sanjay. No, Sanjay, it's not VET. Anybody else?
Sir, VEITH.
Pardon?
VEITH.
VEITH. No. Yeah, go ahead, others. Yeah, Sanjay had a go at it. Karthik had a go at it. Go on. Rashmita, Anjali, Preeti, Jasi. Yeah, go ahead. Rashmita, go ahead. Guess no.
I've never heard that word before, sir.
Okay, doesn't matter. What about Anjali? Never heard the word Anjali? No. Preeti? No. Nandita? No. So, Priyanka? No. Yamini?
No, sir.
No. Jasi? No. Okay. So nobody has heard of this. We did WHET. WHET. You quench your thirst, you whet your appetite, and you satiate your hunger. Satiate. 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 Satiate hunger, quench your thirst, and whet your appetite. I deliberately used this. I just made use of the opportunity to put this across to you. A lot of things, English is an ocean. Nobody can truly master a language. But having said that, one can always become proficient in it. A lot of people have a problem with English because the pronunciation and the spelling don't seem to go hand in hand. That's because English is a non what do you call phonetic language. the word and the spelling doesn't, I mean, the sound and the spelling don't necessarily go hand in hand. Okay. Now I don't want to straight away jump into the intricacies of English, the language. I should be keeping that aside for the time being. So that is something once you delve into it, right, is a big enough ocean for you to swim in. So we'll keep it aside for the time being. I was just as we wound up. What was I saying? Just as we wound up for the lunch break, because I seem to have lost track of where I finished. Anyone who can tell me?
You were talking about, having an extraordinary fund of knowledge and extraordinary supply of words to be a
Words.
better, communicator.
Okay. Yeah, let's go back to that. So very often this happens. I have seen this happen in front of me, where you're suddenly searching for a word, and sometimes that word will be one of the fundamental words. It's not even an out of the world word. To give you a very simple example, there was a particular case. I was there. There's a, I don't want to take the names of companies. There's this company for whom I was training in higher language skills. And my students were all vice presidents and presidents and general managers, that level. You'll be surprised how seriously they take that class. They are very serious in class. They'll behave like school children. They'll, religiously do their homework and all that. Because that's the condition on which we had agreed upon before the session started. And they themselves had told me, sir, we'll be schoolboys and you'll be the schoolmaster. Only then learning will take place. Because we have got so used to giving instructions, for a change to accept instructions is going to be very difficult. So we'll have to reduce ourselves to schoolboys and you have to elevate yourself to be a schoolmaster. Only then this thing will work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Naturally, fellows who are coming, driving to work in Audis and Mercedes and BMWs, you don't, treat them like school kids, right? They'll throw you out. But here, this was the agreed upon, that they'll be the little boys and girls, and I'll be that old, Moorish, idiotic, annoying schoolmaster, not that entertaining one. Okay. Otherwise, they'll take advantage of me. The only place where they would take advantage of me is when they did not do their homework. They'll have a collective meeting. They'll find out who all have not had their homework. Then they'll ask the HR person to give me a call and say, sir, today we are cancelling the program for emergency reasons. So this is how it used to work. Now, why I'm sharing this with you is you might have a question which might say like this, why would anyone at that stage of life want to be trained in anything at all? They've already reached the pinnacle of success. So why would they want to be trained in anything for that matter? Now, see, what happens is when I tell you now the importance of words, the importance of knowledge, all those things, you're prone to take it through one ear and out through the other. During the length of this session, you will probably listen to me, everything I say. But at the end of the session, you'll go back to your old ways. You'll take a vow, let's say. From today on, I'm going to read this many pages of the newspaper, and I'll ensure that I add at least 50 words to my vocabulary every day. If you actually do that, in 1 year, you'll be in a different league altogether. But all of us will say this, but won't do it. Why? We have a tendency to go back to square one. Once the session is over, it will be once again back to starting point. But all this has a price to pay. When you grow up and suddenly you find that you are doing far better than what you expected. You thought I be one of the mid-level, whatever, But suddenly you find that you're the CEO of a company and you are completely ill-equipped as far as your communication skills go. As a CEO, you have an incumbent duty. You have a bunch of people around you who are looking to you for inspiration. So you got to be a leader, and a leader leads by example. So everyone, all your deputies who are under you, your subordinates, so to say, so you are going to provide direction to them. So you must be able to command authority. Remember, when respect is demanded, you will not get it. Respect is always commanded, not demanded. You command respect. If you demand respect, nobody's going to give it to you. When you command respect, it comes automatically. Everything falls into place. To command respect, it means to earn the respect of people. You should be able to speak in a particular way. This is where elevated way of speaking becomes very, very important. So you got to learn. And it's not just about using that one-off keyword. It's about using a certain way of talking, you see. There is a style, there's an elan with which you speak, where phrases flow off your tongue so effortlessly. For some people, of course, it comes naturally, while others labor over it. Many people actually, they sit, they prepare. A lot of preparation goes into delivering a speech somewhere. While somebody will just walk in, he had breeze out, having given a beautiful speech. That is naturally gifted people. You leave them out of the picture. But the rest of us, the mortals I'm talking about, you have to prepare. And I have seen people floundering at that all important moment. Why? When you have 500 people, very august audience in front of you, your knees will start knocking. Your tongue will run dry. Your lips won't move. They'll get locked. Your throat, suddenly it becomes sore. And then next thing is, your eyes are welling up with tears. And then you'll be start pitying yourself. Why did I come here? What have I done to myself? And you feel, oh my God, how inadequate I am as a human being. Self-pity. I've seen this happen to so many people. Why, as human beings, all of us have these weaknesses. Nothing to be ashamed of, really. I always tell this to people. When you go and stand on stage and you start speaking, if you're not nervous, then there is something seriously wrong. Because nervousness is expected. You're supposed to be nervous, man. You don't have a choice as a human being. It is natural to be nervous. Why? Nature has not designed you for this purpose. If you're not nervous, then something is wrong with you. You need psychiatric help. So it's good to be nervous. Nervousness makes you alert. But in the process of nervous, you're prone to make all kinds of elementary errors. It's okay. Why? Because everyone sitting in the audience knows the difficulty of standing where you're standing. So they are able to understand the errors that you make are precisely the errors that they too would come and make. So nobody's surprised. I have seen people coming to a complete halt and going back to their seats almost in tears. I have seen the other way also, and I love to share this with you. There was a program I used to do for Infosys called Campus Connect. I would go to different engineering colleges across the country, and I would do a 5-day session for one batch. We were one batch of people who went actually, and in those 5 days, there'll be a tremendous rapport that I would build with these kids. So much so, the bonding will be so intense. On the 5th day, the session will be awash in tears. right? Everyone hug one another and cry. That will be the intensity of the engagement we have. And I normally keep it for the fourth day. I make everyone speak. On the fourth day, it is a speech that everyone has to give, and there are a few rules over there. The rules of my speeches, minimum is a 2 minute speech they have to give. Okay? And minimum is 1 minute. At If you go beyond 2 minutes, we have one group called the sergeants. If you go beyond 2 minutes, they'll physically take you out from there. They'll first tell you to shut up. If you don't shut up, they'll come and they'll bodily lift you and put you back in your chair. It adds to the fun of the situation. But very rarely it happens because nobody lasts for that long. Even 2 minutes is too long. The problem is that minimum 1 minute. This is the rule. If you don't, you have to survive 1 minute. That 1 minute you'll be monitored. You'll be timed. Your pauses will be timed. The number of times you say is also counted. The person who does that is called an counter. His job is to count the number of times you say all this. And then you have these filler words, no? Like, I mean, you see, all these things that you tend to say. These are the fillers. We will tell you at the end of the thing how many times you use which filler word, how many times you use, how many hours, how many everything will be told to you. You have to speak for a minimum 1 minute, and you cannot have a pause of more than 1 second. Should be continuous 1 minute. If you run out of words and you pause for more than a second, your 1 minute starts again from there. Imagine wherever you pause and you stop, again clock starts from there, 1 minute. So sometimes your 1 minute can extend to 10 minutes. But till you finish give me that 1 minute continuous speech, I will not allow you to move. You'll be made to stand there. And very often, you know how the role of a victim that you tend to play when you're in acute discomfort. First thing is you'll put on all that wry, sour-looking face, so please, sir, all this, and then the tears. You'll allow the tears to, burst out of your eyes, and it will start flowing. You'll actually start sobbing, so please, all that, and then your classmates will become suddenly very, very sweet to you. They will join. Sir, please, sir, leave her alone, sir, leave her, sir. I'll just say, shut up. Nobody will interfere. This is between me and the speaker. Anyone else interferes, I'll throw you out. All this thing will be done. So now the speaker knows he or she has no choice. This fellow is too stern. He's not going to allow me to go. Next thing I do is, okay, I'll make it easier for you. I'll go turn the person around. Now, he or she will be facing only me, not the audience. I'll hold the person like this, okay? I am your audience. Now tell me all that you wanted to tell. Now I'm with you, mind you. Now you're only telling me, not the audience. Now slowly the conflict comes because there's only one person, right? And what's more, I'm holding you. And wherever you stop, I'll help you. I'll give you the keywords, and then the person starts speaking. Becomes more comfortable. Suddenly you have a 1 minute long speech without break for me. And then what I'll do, I'll turn the person to face the audience. Now whatever you told me, give it to them. Now, 1 minute over, they won't stop. They'll go for the 2 minutes. Why? Confidence has come in. Suddenly, you're a different speaker. At the end of 2 minutes, these are the people who will be physically lifted and brought back to their seat. Okay. 1 week later, they will call me. I'll be here back in Bangalore. They'll call me from wherever they are. Vineet, sir, guess what? Said, yeah, what? I'm comparing the school's program, college program. I'm the MC for today's ceremony. Look at that. See from where to where it goes. So this is how it is, public speaking. I'm so sorry. And we used to enjoy doing this. But see, this is at your age. This works beautifully. But when you're 35, 45, it doesn't work all that beautifully. It becomes more difficult for you. Why? Because you're carrying life's baggage with you. All the disappointments, all the failures. There are so many things that have been bothering you. And you're standing in front of people who you think I cannot fail in front of them. How can I make show myself in such ugly scene in front of them? These are the kind of things that will come into you. So it becomes very difficult. So that is where they suddenly realize, oh my God, how inadequate I am. I need to elevate myself. And elevating oneself at that stage becomes generally difficult. That's where I walk in. I have seen in a particular case, let me give you one example. There was this person, right, doing well in life, one of the big wigs, and he was talking about a policy that was initiated by somebody else. He came on stage and said, Mr. So and so, and all the salutations are over. Now he says, not only do I disagree with whatever you have suggested, look at this, the way he says, not only do I disagree. Initially, what happened is when he came in to speak, he's a young, new, what you call entrepreneur. So this was a program for new entrepreneurs who have done well in life. So he was called as the keynote speaker. So he was the main speaker. But before him, the chairman and one chief guest spoke. And then they said, now we request the keynote speaker to give his keynote address. The worst thing what happened was, this man, when he got up, there was an audience of more than 500. When he got up, he was quite well known. So when he got up, 500 people stood up and applauded. When they said, may I request so and so to speak, 500 people are applauding before he started his speech. Do you know what happens when you have a standing applause before you speak? It's a killer. I don't know whether you have experienced. I have experienced it. You'll feel so jittery, you can collapse. This fellow, he gets up, 500 people standing and applauding. He's super shaky. He somehow stumbles his way towards the microphone and holding the microphone tight, he starts. You know, if 500 people give you a standing ovation before you speak, you'll be wondering, why are you doing this to me? Why, leave me alone, please. This is how you feel. It is so scary. Now, this fellow comes, holds onto the microphone tightly, and he starts. And he makes the first fundamental error. And let me tell you, see, there are things. Best thing is, especially initially when you're speaking, never disagree with anyone. Always agree with him. Disagreement creates problems. Let me explain that. Now this fellow starts. Not only do I he said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so and so, all the salutations over, and then he makes the first blunder. He says, not only do I disagree with the policy initiative suggested by the presiding officer, I hate the very idea behind it. This is what he wanted to say. But you know what happened? He forgot the word hate. Now, hate is a word all of you know. All through your life, you use the word hate, no? Whenever you fought in your childhood with your friend, and you fought every day, at the end of the fight, what did you say? I hate you. Afterwards, again, you got together, again, you fought, and at the end, you said, I hate you. She also said, I hate you. Both of you hated one another and left. Again, next day, you get, that's the beauty of childhood. You forget all this. Next day, you get together, again, you fight, again, you hate, I hate you, you say it. So hate is a word you have been using all through your childhood. Now, as an adult, you're standing in front of 500 people who are applauding for you. and you're saying something very, very important. Not only do I disagree with what initiatives you have suggested, I hate the very idea behind it you want to say, and at such an august moment, you forget the word hate. It can happen. It does happen. It is a very ordinary word, but you forgot it. It's an ordinary word, but very strong word. When I say I hate you, it's strong, isn't it? I hate you. Hate is a strong word. It has a punch. Now go back to your childhood. Now this man, he forgot the word hate. And he could not find a replacement. Now I'm going to put this example for you. Now you think for a moment. You're fighting with your friend. At the end of the fight, you're saying, I hate you, and walk away. Now instead of I hate you, let's say you forget the word hate. What word would you use? You should have the same effect as hate. What word would you use? Unmute and tell me.
Dislike.
Dislike. Right? Sanjay says dislike. Now you go back to your childhood and you are fighting with your friend. At the end of the fight, what did you say instead of I hate you? You say I dislike
Dislike.
you. It sounds almost sweet, right? It's almost like you're giving a chocolate instead. The hate is not there. So I dislike you. You're so sweet. I too dislike you, right? So it doesn't work, does it? It doesn't. Okay, now anyone suggest another word, please, instead of dislike?
So don't like. I don't
Yeah,
like him.
anyone? Suggest, no, just unmute and suggest. Instead of dislike, one more word. I'm waiting. In your childhood, you fought with your friend. At the
I
end of
don't
the
want to
fight,
talk to you.
I won't talk to you. Right? That's a nice one, actually. Right? As children, when you say I won't talk to you, it works. But I hate you doesn't mean I hate you, sadly. So it's not a replacement for hate. You can't say on stage, I won't talk to you. Right? So I want another word for hate, precisely a word for hate. Dislike is very near hate, accepted, except that it is too sweet. So give me another word, anybody.
So we are not friends now.
Yeah, Karthi, you said something.
So we are not friends now. We are not friends now.
We are not good friends. Okay. But again, it's got nothing to do with hate. Dislike is the nearest word now you've given me. Why? There is no word that you know which is equivalent to hate. It's difficult. So I better find a word. It's okay in childhood. I won't be your friend. I won't. I dislike you. I won't talk to you. All those things you can say as a child. But now you're standing on the stage and you're talking to an august audience. And what is more, you have taken on the fight with a person who has already said something, and you're disagreeing with that person. And what do you say? Not only do I disagree with you, see, not only do I disagree with you, I hate the very idea behind it. You said. Now, see, not only disagreeing, you want to hate. So, what are you going to put over there instead of hate? You know, you forgot the word hate. What are you going to put there? You don't have a word. Now you'll be looking at me. Hey Vineet, if I'm sitting there, give me one word, please give me one word, please. Right? So you need not so you can say, Mr. President, not only do I disagree with the policy initiatives you have just now suggested, I detest the very idea behind them. I abhor the very idea behind them. I loathe the very idea behind them. If you have all these words sitting on the tip of your tongue waiting to be delivered, then life is a lark. Now you know why people at that level want to get trained in higher levels of the language. This is why. Forget that. Let me put a simple example. I was doing a session for Accenture, Accenture or TCS, I don't remember. It was in Chandigarh. One lady asked me this question. The session is on English language elevation, mind you. And she has a temper Yeah, I understand what I say, you understand. Isn't that the function of a language? Yes, you're right. That is the function. Or do you want to reach a level of excellence? Now, this question is not going to elicit proper answer, and I don't think it made even sense to her. So I had to explain in detail. So I put forward this question. Okay, now listen here. See, we have come into this world to make an impact. Yes. Why do we dress up the way we dress up? Today you're attending class. You're not bothered how you look. Even if the class were to be held in the institute, you would have just pulled on your jeans, a t-shirt. You might have not even bothered to, comb your hair. The girls, of course, at least they would have brushed their hair, and you would have come to class. What's the big deal, right? Would you come dressed up in style, silk sari, bejeweled ornaments, all that? What's the point? One old man is going to teach us, right? There's no point going and sweeping Vineet Kumar off his feet, right? If it's at least a young fellow, it's okay. This fellow is too old. What's the point making an impression on him? You say, correct? No, right? So there's nothing to be done. But the same thing, if you had attended a wedding, today you would have normal class. You will take 5 minutes to dress up and rush to class. But when you go for a wedding, even the fellow who doesn't comb his hair to go to class, when he goes for a wedding, he'll ensure at least he's decently dressed. His hair is not disheveled, unkempt. His hair is in place. Chances are he might be a little bit of cologne here and there. Right? At least he'll wear a shoe, not bathroom chappals. A decent pair of shoes. Right? At least this much will be done. Yes. Why does he do it? This is for a boy. If it's a girl, oh my gosh. She would have started preparing the previous week itself. Yes? Why the blouse and the sari have to match, no? Right? The nail polish and the lipstick have to match, no? Should I wear a stud or a ring or a dangle or what? Should I leave my hat? Should I plait it? Should I bun it? Should I do what? Oh, what all problems of being a girl. Oh my God. So many options to choose from. Oh, I love girls. When my wife was carrying, I had just one prayer to God. God, give me a girl. Why? I wanted to dress her up in all her finery and watch the beauty. That's the beauty of her. Oh, the joy of having a girl at home is absolutely unbelievable. I've been very lucky that way. Right? So imagine the amount of trouble a girl takes to dress up for a wedding. And now everything perfectly in place, and they'll get into the car, and at the venue, when they get off the car, very gingerly they'll walk, wearing those stilettos and high heels or whatever. Every step a measured step. My whole world is watching me. Right? The whole world is watching me. Even the slightest error, how can I do that? Imagine at such a moment when the strap of your slipper breaks, means what will happen? The whole world will come crashing down. Of all times, how it should happen? You'll think as if the whole world is watching you. Actually, nobody's watching you. But fact is, that's how we think. And why do we do all this? We do all this because we are trying to make an impact. Right? So I was giving this as an example. Actually, when a person gets married, The time between the engagement and the marriage, that's the best time. That is fairy tale time. There is you get engaged, yet to get married. Between the engagement date and the marriage date, the life is a fairy tale. The boy is a prince charming and the girl is Cinderella. Oh my god. So he will call up and say, shall we go for a movie tomorrow? She'll say, yes, why not? Okay, she'll be all dressed up and ready, waiting, looking through the window to see if her view is coming, and the fellow will come and he'll gently honk, and the lady in style will step out. He will rush out from the driver's cab. He'll rush out, he'll open the door for her and gently ask her to sit. And as she sits, he'll gently push the sari in and ever so gently close the door lest she be disturbed, you see. And then he'll sprint to the other side and he'll sit behind the wheel and he'll ask her, shall we? And the lady will say, yes, let us. And they'll go, oh, life is so beautiful. Same thing after marriage, it's a different story. Hey, what are you doing? Come down fast. That's how it will work. So in life, all that we do is we are trying to make an impact, each and every one of us. And it is so in every aspect of life. Let me give you an example. There is this boy, okay? There is this boy who's besotted with this girl. I don't know whether you understood the word. There is this boy who is besotted with this girl. And so many times he has thought, besotted means he's completely consumed, obsessed. He can't think of anything else. Wherever he turns, he can see her. It has happened to you, right? What boys? What Sanjay? Karthik? This happened to you now? Wherever you turn, you can only see her. Yes? So it's a normal part of growing up, don't worry. This crush is a normal part of growing up. So generally, for a schoolboy, as he's growing up, his first crush will be the lady teacher. And that's a normal thing. Nothing wrong with that. The fact of why it is so is because the lady teacher is the first mature woman a boy sees after his mother. So it's a kind of a mother fixation. As he grows, of course, other fixations come in. Okay. So there is this boy who is besotted with this girl. And he's been waiting. One day he says, I cannot bear this any longer. My heart will break, will burst unless I reveal this to her. Going and telling a girl this is very, very difficult. Going and telling, revealing your heart to a girl. Is it easy, Karthik? Sanjay, is it easy?
I have no
Not at
experience.
all.
You have no experience of it. Okay, very soon you will. Don't worry. Okay. I'm told it's very, very difficult. Actually, there are two kinds of boys. There's this one fellow who just cannot go and tell a girl the three magical words. And there is this other one who tells every passing girl the three magical words. So you have either this end or that end. Okay. So anyway, this boy, he finally decides, I'm going to reveal all that there is in my heart. He accosts her on the way, stops her, and he tells her, and in soft, he whispers into her ears the three magical words. What are the three magical words? What are the three magical words, darlings?
Lockdown is over.
What is over?
Lockdown is over.
Lockdown is over. Okay, yeah, now it looks like the priorities have changed. Imagine you go and tell a girl lockdown is over, she'll ensure you're going to have one more lockdown. Anyway, what are the three magical words?
I love you.
Yes, I love you. So he goes and tells, whispers into her ears the three magical words. I said whispers into her ears because I come from the old school of romance. I'm an old man, you see. I come from the Rajesh Khanna school of romance, where everything was said so ever so softly. it's not like making a public announcement, right? It's not like saying for whomsoever concerned. Right? It's something, it's a very personal thing that you tell a particular person. I love you. It's as simple as that. Now the question is this. Instead of saying I love you, my question is to the girls here. Instead of saying I love you, he says, you take my breath away. He says, you take my breath away. Breath. You see? You take my breath away. Which one do you choose, darlings? I'm asking the girls.
The poetic one, definitely.
Yeah, the second one, the poetic one. Why? Because there is an element of creativity. I love you standard. Like he said, lockdown thing. There is no romance left over there. I love you standard. Everyone says it even without meaning it most of the time. So what's the big deal? But when somebody says something else, there is a creative input that has gone into it. You take my breath away, carries a different emotion altogether. And it shows that you have put in an effort to be creative. You actually take away, you steal a damesel's breath when you do that. And naturally, you're going to get that kind of a response. Whether she's ill disposed towards you or well disposed towards you, at least she will respect, admire the fact that you did something creative, something different, which will appeal to her inner emotions. So each time I want to go and speak to her, and she's a reticent sort of girl, shy, bashful, who runs away each time I say something, and I try to attract her attention by all this. First time I said, "You take my breath away." Right? I didn't get a response, but at least I saw her slinking away bashfully. So next time I see her, I said, "Don't keep passing me by. Every time you pass by, my heart skips a beat." Am I being romantic? Yes, I am. Am I being creative? Yes, I am being creative. Am I being repetitive? No, I'm not being repetitive. Right? I'm showing myself to be different. Am I using any big word here? No. You take my breath away. What's the big deal? You take my breath away. The usual 5 words. As ordinary as I love you. Simple. But yet there is a creative element. Even the second example, there is a creative element without using any big word. I am remaining simple. Right? Going by the example of what that girl did. Don't you think it is important to be simple? She said. Yes, this is simple. But why is it so special? And then next time I see her, I'm running out of my ability to be simple, you see. The next time I see her, I tell her, you are enchanting. Those of you who've been reading the fairy tales and all that know the meaning of enchanting. Those who haven't been reading fairy tales, you missed out. What is he trying to say? And the next time I see her, I say, you are endearing. You are enthralling. You are entrancing. You are enticing. There is no limit to what I can go on. Now, but what am I doing now? I'm complicating matters. I stopped being simple long ago. Now I have been complicated. To complicate is ridiculously simple. To be simple is hopelessly complicated. Is something we ought to understand it. This is fundamental as far as communication goes. We say, why don't we be simple? Try being simple, darlings. It's more difficult than what you think. This is what it boils down to. As you go higher and higher, all these things will fall into picture. The right phrase at the right place. You don't necessarily have to use big words, right? You can use some very ordinary words to suggest beautiful emotions. Yeah, I remember somebody asked me the other day. I went to meet an old lady, an old contact. She's in her 80s. And her daughter was in the US, called up to ask me, so Vineet, how was the meeting with my mom? From there she got said, Ah, simple. In one word, I can describe it. Absolutely chocolatey. I did use a big word over there. I used to have completely. So, and she was floored. I said, "Oh my God, what a way to describe it." It's a one simple word, but look at the impact it has. Right? Something so sweet. What is your idea of something absolutely sweet? When you when you talk about ice cream, 90% of people go for the chocolate flavor, right? So when you say something is chocolatey, you're describing the sweetest of emotions. Right? See how it comes out. It's the phrase, right? So it's the phrase. I'm using, when I say you take my breath away, I'm using five very ordinary English words, but I've strung them in a garland. That garland is a phrase which becomes beautiful. This is what the beauty is. Okay, I'll probably delve a lot into the intricacies of English. I'll be taking you through something called etymology, and there's a lot of things I have lined up as well, which I normally do. Right? But since this is just giving you a small peep into what the classes are going to be, kind of a precursor to what is eventually going to be. My whole idea is to be as inspirational as possible. I just hope that you all will look at life beyond, way beyond what you think it is. I don't know how often you have come across people who actually try to make you put your best foot forward. I've done thousands of, I've been a corporate trainer for how much now? 25, 30 years now. I have trained God knows how many people, I've lost count. And in all aspects, whether it's motivation or you know, making your presence felt, personal effectiveness, it just come under all kinds of nomenclatures. But basically, it was all communications. And in this, you have all this decision making, negotiation skills. I had tailor-made negotiation skills and change management sessions I was doing for Oracle and Thorough Systems and Wipro. I remember. So these are all different kinds of modules. Motivation is true a lot for L&D and L&D informatics, and of course English language and enhancement has always been there. So all these things, a mix of all these things, I'll be doing for you in your regular sessions. But finally, at the end of the thing, the main thing that I'm going to expect to do for you is to mold you into becoming better individuals. I started talking to you about the Beatles, and somewhere I left it at that. Music is very important from my point of view. There are two things I always tell people. If you follow sports, not only is it interesting, entertaining, it will make a much more sporting, ebullient person out of you. It will fill you with the right kind of qualities. While, of course, if you read about sports, you will learn a lot of superlative words. Why? The sports page is full of superlatives. You're talking about great achievements, great feats. To give you an example, when you read just the headline of a newspaper or you move to the sports page, they will talk about, says, Virat Kohli hits a century. Virat Kohli hits a century will not be the title. The heading will be Virat Kohli scores a scintillating century. That scintillating is a word you may not have heard of, but it becomes part of your system. A superlative. So you'll find a whole lot of superlatives on the sports page. And I have learned so much from it. And when you read about sporting icons, you watch a Lionel Messi in action. It's a God-given gift. And you are just lucky to watch. It's artistry, it's poetry in motion. There's a certain joy. It's like a painting, the few strokes of a Vincent van Gogh's painting. Ah, how beautiful. Since one of you is from Mysore, you go to your Rajendra Vilas Palace and you'll find a series of paintings by Ravivar. I can stand whole day looking at it, especially those paintings on Shakuntala and Damayanti and all that is, oh my God, extraordinarily beautiful. Fine art. So whether it is music, dance, poetry, anyone here who's into Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi or Mohiniyattam or Kathakali or Yakshigana?
I learned Bharatanatyam for 7 years.
Good. You learned Bharatanatyam,
Yeah.
not didn't continue. Sad. I wish you had continued. Right? Lot of people do this. That doesn't matter. At least you have a basic connect with it. And see what it does is there is a fluidity of movement it gives you. There is a certain elan. You watch a usual Bharatanatyam dance. It's a delight talking to a dancer because their eyes will move in a particular way, their hands will move in a particular way. That's a certain rhythm, even when they talk, in the way they walk, everything about that. You can see that dancer in them. Right? When they talk to you, you literally see eyes dancing in front of you. Right? When they call you, it's almost like Krishnani Begane Bhavo. Right? It's almost beckoning a person. There's a certain beauty to it. Right? So this is the joy of dance because there is an expression, and you should see the way they'll use their hands. They will weave patterns. Yeah, I think your eyes will be just following their fingers. And oh my God, because they'll be drawing pictures with their hands. They'll do this and because whatever they do it to suggest a bird or to suggest a deer or somebody hunting, all these things come naturally to them. You'll find a Bharatanatyam dancer will be so animated a person they can't keep their hands and expressions to themselves at all. No, hands will be doing things, eyes will be doing things. Words are not necessary at all over there. Right? Even without words, they'll tell you everything they want to tell. Right? That's the beauty of it. You should follow it. It's something so beautiful. Whether see, it's all part of one stream: music, dance, painting, poetry, sports. All of them are so beautiful. You should watch it. You should try to get into it. And when I say music, I talk to you about Beatles. Actually, an encyclopedia on the music of the 60s and 70s. You can ask me anything on the music of the 60s and 70s, and I know. Whether it's Hindi, English, whatever. Right? Even Tamil. Some of you are from Coimbatore. Mami Ilayaraja is one of my all-time favorite composers. I consider him as extraordinary as far as orchestration is. He was a genius in orchestration. Amazing character, right? And as far as the music of 60s and 70s in Hindi is concerned, you just have to ask me. I'll tell you which movie, which scene, with everything, who is the composer, lyricist, everything I'll tell you. And I remember in one session, somebody asked me, Vinny, sir, you talk so much about the Beatles and the Queen and ABBA and all that. What about, have you heard of any other kind of music? Which music are you talking about, sweetheart? And then I started, okay, let's talk about Western classical. If you're talking about classical music, okay, I thought you don't know. Since you started, okay, now take it. And I was talking to her about Mozart and Beethoven and Chopin and Tchaikovsky. I was telling her what are the first contra, the second, of Beethoven, everything. The first sonata, second sonata, the third sonata is going on. There is no end to it. Right? This is Western classical. Anyone who has had at least a rudimentary brush with the Indian classical music, anybody here?
Because of Bharatanatyam, we do have to learn all the talas and
Okay, so you're talking about the Thalam and Raghav and all that. Thala, Raga. Okay. Uh, the the trinity of Carnatic classical music. Okay, who wants to tell me the trinity of Carnatic classical music? Yeah, there are three people who are called the Trinity of Carnatic classical music. Who are the three? If you know it, say yes, otherwise no. What, Rashmita? You want to say? No. Okay. No, since you mentioned that they taught you a little bit of Carnatic classical music, okay. The Trinity of Carnatic classical music are
Raga.
Tyagaraja, Muthuswami Dikshidhar, and Shama Shastri. Okay, Tyagaraja was born in Tiruvayar in Tanjavur district. Every year we have this Tiruvayar, the Tyagaraja Aradhana, the festival in Tiruvayar. I used to go every year. I used to sit there and sing along with them. Not that I can sing, but then when 1,000 people are singing, on the last day, there is something called Pancharatna Kirtana. Okay, so the five Pancharatna, the five gems, Ratnas, five gems of Tyagaraja's composition, he sung on the final day by all the entire assembly together. And you will have all the top singers. I have sat behind Semangudi Srinivasa here and I have sung along with him. Luckily, he can't hear me because there are 1,000 people. Otherwise, he would have thrown me out from there. I must have been the only Apaswara there. Okay, so but I sang. And what are the Pancharatnas? The Pancharatnas are Endaro Mahanubhavulu, Jagadanandakaraka, Dudukogalaninde, Sadinjane, and Kanakana Ruchira. These are the five Pancharatnas of Tyagaraja. And on the last day of Tyagaraja Aradhana, they sing this Pancharatnas. Oh, it is beautiful. Sitting there, it's like you'll be sitting in a trance and listening to incredibly beautiful. I don't claim to be an expert on tal and rag and all that. I know a little bit. I don't more than 50% to 60% of the rag I'll identify, not 100. I'll tell you what is a Bhairavi, what is a Karahar Priya, what is a Shri, right? What is a Chinjoti, what is a Sharmuga Priya. There are a few, some at least 10 to 15 rags I'll identify. Yaman in Hindustani, Yaman Kalyan, all these things I can figure out. I'm not claiming to be an expert, but it's nice to know a little. It's like this with us. I don't know whether you all have been to. There are some amazing places. These temples, I tell you. If you've gone to say, for instance, Halebeed and Belur, or you go to Tanjavur, go to the Brihadishwara temple there, you go to Madurai, you go to the Meenakshi temple, you go to Mahabalipuram, you go and see the rock cut temples there, you go to Hampi, you go to Konark, you go to Khajuraho. Oh, the beauty of the sculpture is unimaginably beautiful. Right? You just, for me, I remember I went to Belur Halebeed. I thought I'm going to complete it one day. No. One day I just sat standing, staring and staring. You require a few days to stand and stare because it is so beautiful. Right? So you need to have a. What happens is, see, at the end of the day, it's like this. All these things make you a better person. When you watch all this, when you appreciate beauty, you become a better person. You listen to music, you enjoy those notes, the softness of music as it sinks into your heart. It sends you into a trance, makes you a much sweeter person. You watch the glory of sport. You watch something as violent as, say, Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson in boxing, where they punch each other out to pulp. Even in that brutality, there is a certain beauty because it's a sport. Because at the end of this brutal round, you knock down somebody, and when the person who has knocked you down rushes to carry you, you realize the beauty of human spirit, the beauty of the human understanding of relationships. Right? When you lose a race, I'll just tell you one article I read in a newspaper. With that, I think I'll bring the session to a close. Long back I read this. I have a habit of not missing the editorial page in newspaper. Every day I will read the editorial because some of the gems I've come across in my life have been in the editorial page. Different newspapers. Once, I think it was in the Times, if I remember right, I saw it's one of the inside pages, editorial pages. There is a headline. The headline says, Sports Day in School. The headline was Sports Day in School. I read that and I stopped. Why? I was sitting and dreaming of all the sports days in my school. If you had read that, you also would have done the same thing. Right now, you're doing the same. You're imagining all the things that happened on sports day in your school. Yes or no? Yes. Now you tell me, okay, whatever memory that came to your mind in your sports day in school, what came to your mind? Now tell me. I'm waiting to listen to you.
So
Yeah.
I headed the LO team when I was in 10th standard.
Okay.
So my team won the best team prize. So I still remember that the chaos that created, like everybody, you know, it was fun. It was really fun. Like
Okay.
we never
Great.
expected that we will get the
Okay.
best team award.
Okay. The color was yellow.
Yes,
Yes.
LO team.
Okay. Now because the houses had different colors, that's
Yes.
something so important in your school
Cool.
memories,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Anybody else who wants to share a memory?
I was actually the head girl of the school, so I had to
Okay.
lead all the 4 houses.
Okay.
So it was fun. Caesars.
Where
We had different.
where's Sweden?
Sorry,
Where
sir.
which
Sri
place?
Chaitanya, Bangalore.
Huh?
Sri
In
Chaitanya.
Bangalore.
Yeah.
In Bangalore. Okay. Okay. So you were the head girl in school. So you were leading a march past probably.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Okay. Anyone else who has a memory?
So, so me,
Yeah. Please go ahead.
sir, I was a long distance runner, sir, in school.
Long distance runner. Okay. Great.
Yes, sir. So at that time in school, we had a age category. Means 8th standard to 10th standard, we had one category. No one was expected that I will win this race.
Uh,
I was 8th that time in the category of 9th, 10th. So I had won
Okay.
that race.
Despite being in eighth. Great.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Anyone else who wants to share a memory? Anyone? Okay. See, when I read this sports day in school, I just closed my eyes and parade of memories. Right? I thought a shamiana, loudspeaker, and on the sports day they'll because the dust should not rise, they will water the ground, and there'll be one aroma that you'll get because the water has been sprayed on the ground. It's called petrichor. Okay, that colorful house flags fluttering in the breeze, the fresh tracks, chalk marks of the fresh tracks. There is a table with all the trophies and medals. There is a victory stand ready for to make the people stand when they win. And there are announcements, last and final call for the 100 meters, right? All these things were parading through my head. And I felt fabulous. Oh my God. I just went back to my school. And then I started reading. Exactly what all I had thought of is written there also in that article. Whoever has written that, he has written about this speaker, Shamiana, everything. And then he writes, final call for the 100 meters. Everyone is ready. 8 sprinters are squared up at the starting point, and everyone is rooting for their respective houses. And then the starter with a gun, he shouts, on your marks. And everyone becomes quiet. Now, in every school, there is one fellow who is expected to win. He is the regular champ. So everyone knows this fellow is going to win. So what the principal has done, he has invited the mother of this athlete. She's sitting there in the Shamiana. He doesn't know the athlete. So when he wins and stands on the victory stand, the medal will be put around his neck by his mother. That is the idea designed by the principal. So everything is ready. So the starter's gun goes off, and 8 runners start sprinting towards the finish, and followed by the screams of their supporters. Everyone screaming and shouting. And as expected, the champion is in front. And as they come towards the finish, in that last single stride, to the shock of everyone, there's another athlete who slightly noses ahead of the champion. Everyone is surprised. The champion comes second. Okay. And now I read. I continue to read. Now I realize who has written that article in the newspaper. It is written by the champion who lost. He has written. I was so disappointed. I felt I had let down everyone. And I was trying to look at the person who defeated. He just came towards me, put an arm around me, and told me, "Don't worry, that was just a fluke," and he walked off. He was not exulting and jumping around. It looked almost as if he's embarrassed to win. It's almost like even he would have preferred me winning. Next, the attention shifts to the victory stand. There on the victory stand, the champion's mother comes and she puts a silver medal on her son's neck instead of the gold. And she tells him, "Darling, you have been my champion from the day you were born. You've always been my champion. That will never change. Today, if you've been beaten by somebody, you've been beaten by somebody who's better than you on this day. So you have nothing to be ashamed of. You can be proud of whatever you have done." And then she looks at the person who has won. She puts the gold medal around his neck and she says, my young lad, what a strapping young lad you are. I don't know who your parents are, wherever they are, they'll be proud of you. And you're a wonderful boy. God bless you. She says, and she goes away. And you continue to read the article. It was an amazing moment. Today, he writes in that article, today when I think back on that sports day in school, I wonder what destiny is. This is not fair, I tell God. Today I tell God, God, this is not fair. That day, he beat me in the 100 meters race in athletics. Today, God, he has beaten me again in the race of life. There he gave him a gold medal. Here, he is dead. Today, he has beaten me again. This is not fair, God. At least this time I should have beaten him. I should have won. What can I say, my dear friend, except salute you and honor you? My homage to Major Sandeep Onnikrishnan, this is. I can see the shock on your faces because that's the shock I had when I read that last line. Oh my God, what did I read? From where to where my emotions went, as well, reveling in the mode of sports in school joy, and suddenly you're brought here. Where have you got this? That article was so beautiful. By not reading all this, you don't know what we miss in life. These are some of those wonderful, beautiful moments in life. Why I told you this particular story is sports is a great leveler. Sports is a great inspirer. So all these things, whether it's a Muhammad Ali winning the greatest athlete as a boxer, Messi as a footballer, Pele, Messi, Maradona, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, whoever is your favorite as a footballer, whether it's a Gavaskar, a Tendulkar, a Kohli, or a Dhoni, or whoever is your favorite cricketer. whether it could be a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James or you know any of your favorite basketballs. So the other day we lost Milka Singh. Okay, we lost Milka Singh just a few days back. The man we called Flying Sick. I'll see if I can find it. I'll share this later on when I do my classes for you. Okay,
Can I
later
see
on.
the picture of me there, Sandeep?
Pardon? You have it. Oh yes.
Sandeep.
Yes, I can see it. Beautiful. Right, Sandeep Munish.
In
My God.
Telugu, someone is filming his stories.
His story, is it? Oh my God, that's wonderful. That's
An India
wonderful.
movie.
Lovely. That's wonderful. All right, one sec. I just wanted to show you this. Okay. Uh, can you see whose name is here?
Vineet Kumar.
Okay. Okay. This is my Facebook page. It's my name written there, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And what you can see over there is a poem I have written for him. On that day, I write regularly. This is one of the. I will read it out for you. Okay. Good. I'll just show you once, and then I'll read it out for you. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, I'll read it out for you. The greatest athlete we've ever known, a world-class sprinter we called our own. He set standards that were so high. While the others ran, he seemed to fly. Records that would for decades remain proved he was made of a different grain. He missed a medal by less than a stride, yet in 60 Rome, he was the nation's pride. The flying sick has finally signed off. R.I.P. sweet sir, our hats we off. This is what I wrote for Milka Singh. This is a few 2-3 days back. Now, why I'm sharing this with you is someday you can write. You will be able to write things a lot better than what I have written. I'm just trying to inspire you, right? So we are at the back end of this session, but don't worry, we'll be meeting again when we'll have regular classes. I'll be taking you through a voyage into the depths of English. Okay, that's the most important thing I'll be taking you through. So, yeah.
From all of us, I just want to say thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
We've at least learned 15 words in
Thank
these 2 hours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to your class.
Yes, certainly. I'm looking forward to being with you once again. Yes.
So at times it felt like a dictionary came to life. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
dear.
you so much.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
So,
Yeah, anyone
Mr.
else?
Vineet Kumar TS, now that we have to talk to you in English that most of us don't understand, this was a very invigorating experience. Now tell me I pronounced that wrong. Vineet and me go back many years. We speak a lot of Angrezi.
Yeah.
Also sing a lot of rotten old Hindi songs. Okay.
Oh yes, we'll do all that. We'll do all that.
Thank you so much, Vineet. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Arvind, and thank you, sweethearts. You all were wonderful. It was absolute joy talking to you all. I had a fabulous, moment. These 3 hours were absolutely unbridled joy. I had great fun bringing this session to you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Sir, the feeling is mutual.
Correct my
Thank you so
pronunciation,
much.
no, Vineet. Correct my pronunciation.
Repeat that.
Correct my pronunciation.
What did you pronounce wrong? You were perfect. Okay, great. Okay, right then. Let's. I'll sign off. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, dear.
So, quick feedback on the group. What did you think about the session? I would like to hear that on the group. Good, bad, however good. But what do you say over here? Let's quickly start with Karthik. What did you think, Karthik? Did you understand anything of the session?
Yes, sir. I understood.
Yeah. Well, I didn't understand a lot of it. So That's right. It's okay. I mean, it's okay not to understand sometimes. Yeah. So you had Ananta. What about yourself?
Yes, sir. I learned many new words too. It was fun.
So are you learning event management or?
Today's class, I don't know.
You still don't think so? Okay.
Maybe to communication skills we learned.
Okay. Preeti, Jaldi.
Yes, I really like the session. Like we learned something new, which I did not know the words, the English vocabulary.
Good one. Good one. Muskan is Preeti. Sorry. Priyanka.
I learned lots of new words today. It was really useful.
That's all. Of course, that's a given. It's a given that you're learning words. Okay. Apart from that, Rashmi.
I like phrases that he used. For example, he said, to be complicated is very simple and to be simple is very complicated. Such things we don't get to hear.
These things you won't find in too many books. I'm happy that you have taken notes, and that's great. Has anybody else taken notes? Tell me who is not taking notes. Rashmita, I mean, Nandita has not taken notes.
I have taken notes.
Super. Thank you. All the very best, and see you. We will set up another session hopefully on Saturday. Worst case situation again on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes.
And whoever is recording this meeting, who's recorded it? And where is it recorded, Nandita? On your computer or?
Yes, my computer.
So you create a drive, your drive is there as it is with that, and put down today's date and put down Vineet Kumar TS class, and you can upload that on the drive, and which is already shared. You've already shared it with inquiries, right?
Okay.
Right?